I'm Sam.
And I'm Jackson. And this is Your Press Release. Welcome to another episode of Your Press Release. Today we have with us Jeff Hallman. And I'm going to read his bio real quick. So thank you, Jeff, for being with us today.
You're welcome.
Jeff Hallman, abused as a child growing up as a rebel, married at 17, 2 children by 19. He says, when I finally woke up from my bad life's dream, I decided to turn my life around by living right. God showed miracles in my life, God showed miracles in my life, and my life would never be the same again. So Jeff Hallman is from Hallman Jewelers, is a resident of San Diego, or correct, you're in San Diego right now, right?
Yes.
But you've lived in Palm Springs, Nashville, North Carolina, and South Beach, Florida.
Actually, those are where my offices are at.
Oh, those are your offices. Okay, perfect.
And I also have properties there as well.
Okay, perfect. Can you tell us a little more about that bio? Because it does not give us a whole lot of insight into your career, which is what a big part of the focus of this podcast is. But we definitely want to dive into everything that made you successful, not just your career.
So basically, when I was a kid growing up, my dad, amazing guy. The only difference was he was a major alcoholic. And because of it, he would abuse my brother a little bit. My brother abused me a lot. I was the shortest kid in school. I was the least likely in my family. I wasn't that smart. I just wasn't, because I was so messed up by being around an alcoholic and being abused by my brother. And people think, oh, we get abused by brothers all the time. My brother was so jealous over me. He was twice my size. And he just was so jealous over me. He beat me, and he beat me pretty bad. In fact, my only protector would have been my dad, and he almost killed my dad when he was in 10th grade.
Wow.
So I knew when I watched him do that to my dad, I realized that my protector was gone. So, But when I was younger, I had my dad sent me to Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, where he was born, to my grandma's house, because he said, well, let's get you over there so you can stay away from your brother. Otherwise, your brother's going to kill you. And I knew that. So I went to school there when I was a kid. And my step-grandfather sexually abused me while I was there. My grandma went to work every day, and, he sexually abused me. So, and as a kid, you don't want to you don't know how to tell anybody this. Back then, it's not like it is today, where you're raised by saying, hey, if anybody touches you, let everybody know. Well, not back then. You just didn't do that kind of stuff. So I came back to, California, and nobody knew I was being sexually abused there. And then I came back here, and a married woman abused me sexually when I came back. So, so that really messed me up. I was messed up by an alcoholic father, being physically abused by my brother. And when you think, well, physically abused, how bad were you abused? Well, I'll just give you one incident. We're getting ready to go on a trip and to Montana. And my dad said, load up the RV. So we were loading up the RV. My brother had me lay on the ground, and he had a screwdriver about this big. And he says, lay down. I go, no. And he goes, lay down. I'm going to kill you. So I lay down, and he goes, don't move. I go, Greg, please. And he goes, don't move. He took the screwdriver. He threw it, and it landed right in my mouth. My mouth was gushing in blood. He goes, you tell mom and dad. He goes, I'm going to kill you. Wow. So that's the abuse that I went through. Pretty bad.
That's absolutely insane. Yeah.
It's pretty bad. Yeah.
Do you know why did your brother do that to you? Like, if I may ask, like, what was the motivation behind that?
He hated me. He hated me because my mom loved me so much. And, he really wanted me to be not there. I mean, he wanted to be the only child. That's just the bottom line. So, my life was messed up. I wasn't good in school. I was ADHD. My attention, was very short. So no teacher could teach me. They couldn't teach me. They didn't know how to teach me, because back then, they didn't know really what that was. I was just hyperactive. So what happened was that I get into high school, and when I got into my 10th grade year, that particular year, mind you, I'm a straight DF student. I was as dumb as you can get. I just couldn't spell. I couldn't do anything because no teacher knew how to teach me. So what happened was that in 10th grade, we had to share a school because that other high school was getting built. So it just so happened those students came to our school. We went to school at 7 in the morning till like 11 instead of 2:30. And they came into our school at like 12 o'clock, and we went home. Well, because our classes went from 40 minutes to 20-minute classes, I was a 4.0 student. And the reason why I did so well is because the short period of time a teacher could teach me. You see, my attention span was so short that here they are now. They got 20 minutes to fill us with information, and it just so happens that was my attention span. So I got straight A's, and I realized I wasn't as dumb as I thought. Is that crazy or what? You know?
That is crazy. Would you say that's kind of the turning point of when you started to recognize that even though all this was going on in your life, you were going to be able to overcome that and make something of yourself, or when did you start to figure that out?
No, when I started figuring it out is when I was 15 years old. My dad said, "You got to go get a job. If you don't get a job, you got to play football." Now, mind you, you're talented. And football, we played football and we played baseball. So baseball, to your point, my baseball was my sport. But I didn't like football. I was too short, and I was sitting on the bench. Well, you take a hyperactive kid and put him on the bench because he's so short. Come on. Yeah. I'm bored. I'm really bored, you know. So he says, "You go play football. Otherwise, you come to work with me." And my dad had a jewelry store, you know, in San Diego. I didn't want to go to work with my dad. So I played that sport, and then afterwards he came up that one summer and he says, "You have to go get a job, otherwise you're coming to work with me." I didn't want to work with my dad. So I rebelled against him, by the way. You know, before I was 16 years old, I'd been arrested about 3 times. Breaking and entering, cussing. I mean, I got arrested for everything. I was in jail. They put me literally in jail, not juvenile hall. It wasn't like this kid's jail. I was in jail, you know. And this cute little kid. Imagine this cute little short little kid coming up in jail, you know. So it was funny because my dad comes up to me one time and he says, "I can't believe you're embarrassing me so much. I'm trying to run for mayor and you're doing this. How embarrassing." I'm thinking, oh, well, I didn't realize my dad was running for mayor. So guess what? I knew what got him pissed off. So I got more trouble. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then that summer, my dad came up to me and it was the best thing that ever happened. He came up to me. He says, "You'll get a job. Otherwise you come to work for me." And I was only 15 years old. So I had to lie about my age. And so I went to work for a Mexican food restaurant. And that's when I realized that something special was in me. I was top busboy, top dishwasher, and I realized that I really liked to work. I didn't realize how much I liked to work, but I realized that I really was good at working, you know. So I saved enough for a car, and then I bought a car. And I didn't tell my dad I bought a car because my brother got a brand new car, and my sister got a brand new car. But I wasn't about to get a brand new car. So I bought a $300 car. I was making $2 an hour. I saved up after taxes, making about $1.70, you know. So I got this car, and my brother came up to me and he says, "You better tell Dad you bought this car." I go, "I'm not telling him nothing. Are you kidding me? You know, I don't care." And he said, he told me to go back to talk to my dad. So I stormed out of the house because I was mad at my dad. I kicked a hole in the door. I kicked a dent in his truck, and my brother came back to get me. He says, "You got to talk to Dad." So I went to talk to Dad, and he goes, "I don't trust you." He goes, "You lie to me about everything." He goes, "I don't believe in you." Well, I didn't want to tell him I didn't believe in him either. You know, I didn't want to say, I was a respectful thing. You know, you don't come to your dad and say, "Well, you're a loser," you know, that kind of thing. So my dad came up to me after that, and it was the craziest thing. Craziest thing happened at that moment. My dad said, "Son, let's go look at your car." We went to go look at my car, and my dad said, "I'm proud of you." And he said, "Why don't you come work for me? I'll give you $40 a week. You don't have to work a lot. Just come to watch the store every once in a while." And it was like in a 5 and dime store. It was like a Woolworth, Newberry type place. Just an inexpensive place, you know. But I learned there, you know, to work, you know. And I went to go work at my uncle's store. I got my girlfriend pregnant when she was 15 and I was 16. And then we got married when she was 16 and I was 17. We had to go to court. I was still messed up. Remember, I'm messed up. My mind isn't. When you're sexually abused, you have to understand something. When you're sexually abused, you're abused. When you meet people that are, I don't want to say this, when you meet people that are strippers and you meet people that are, that are sexually not good, you got to understand that comes from somewhere. Not close to their father, they were abused. So I'm the male part of that. You have to understand that you're messed up. So I got my girlfriend pregnant, and I wanted to do the right thing because I was starting to turn my life around a little bit, and we went to court, and the court had to make sure the judge had to approve it. And so I got approved to get married, and I married her. And my life, little by little, my focus was off of me, and my focus was on my daughters, my two daughters, So that was my focus. And so I had to work 7 days a week. I couldn't make enough money, so I had to steal. I was stealing. At that time, I was writing bad checks. I had to feed my kids, and I couldn't feed them, I just couldn't feed them. I was working at my uncle's store. I was working at my dad's store. I was working the swap meets on the weekend, so I was working 7 days a week. And then when I got when I was 19 years old, there was a guy that used to come into Newberry's. Remember, Newberry's is like Woolworth, 5 and dime store, and that's where my dad's concession was. And he sold silver stuff, and he sold a little bit of gold, and we did ear piercing, that type of thing. So this guy comes up and he says, "Hey, why don't you come to Bible study with me?" And I said, "I'm okay. I got to work. I got a family. I can't go to Bible study." He goes, "No, come to Bible study." Okay. So weeks went on, months went on, and he finally says, "Well, just come." And I said, I had to shut this guy up. I just had to shut this guy up. But I said, "I'll go with you. Just do me a favor. Once I go, don't ever ask me again." He says, "Done." So I went to the Bible study by the beach, and I don't know what happened. It was the weirdest thing. I've never felt anything like it before, but within an hour, I was crying, and I was giving my life to Jesus. So that was it. I never had to talk to that guy again. I just knew at that point I gave my life to Jesus. Something happened to me. I don't know what happened, but it happened. I don't know. I didn't go to church or anything. I didn't believe anything. I just knew I was a sinner, a big sinner. So I had crazy stuff. I worked my buns off so hard, and I couldn't feed my family. I just couldn't feed my family enough. I was 24 years old at this time, and I had $20 to my name. It was Wednesday. My rent was overdue. I couldn't feed the kids. I didn't have enough. I had $20 enough to feed the kids enough for the week before the swap meet again, And what happened was that craziest thing happened. I was losing everything. I had property and I was losing that. And the guy gave me an old beater car, a Cutlass, a 71 Cutlass, Supreme Brom. I'll never forget it. And it was an old car. And I don't want to go into too much detail because not too many people believe in this stuff, but I witnessed it. So I'm in the car driving. It was raining really hard. I had my hand tool break. I was making some gold-plated jewelry stuff, and gold-filled jewelry and silver jewelry, and my hand tool broke. And I went down the hill. It was November 10th, 1984. I went down the hill to go to the Home Depot, our handyman place. It wasn't a Home Depot back then, and I had got my hand tool, and I had $17 in my name. When I had $17 in my name left, I'm driving. It was raining really hard. It was the first cold rain we had that year, and I'll never forget it. It was really cold. It was really rainy, really cold and really rainy. Remember that? In San Diego, it's hard to believe, but it was pretty cold. So what happened was that there was a guy walking, and he didn't have an umbrella. A couple other people had umbrellas by him, and he was walking really slow. And I just noticed him. You just notice people. He didn't have any shoes on, and I was across the street, and I'm zooming home. He's way across the street, and I just noticed him for a second. And I'm almost home about 2 miles from there, and I hear in my car, "Go pick that man up." I'm looking around, go, what's going on? What? And he goes, I go, what guy? And he goes, go pick him up. So I said, okay. So I made a U-turn to go pick this guy up, and I couldn't find him anywhere. You know how you have little islands in the middle of the street, those little islands with plants and everything? So I'm driving, I can't find him. And I'm driving, I'm at a stop sign, and he's not there now. I'm just past, I'm literally next to the island, and I look on my rearview mirror, and he's standing on the island. So I pull over the street. I'm waiting for him to walk across, and nobody would let him cross because he looked like a homeless guy. And back then, you didn't have homeless guys in San Diego, So I opened up my door and I said, "Hey, buddy, hop in." So he hops in all dripping wet. My car's getting all wet. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what's this guy doing? Who is this guy? I can't believe I'm picking him up." So I go, "Where are you going?" He goes, "I'm going up by the college." And I go, "Okay." So I'm driving up by the college, and I felt so bad for this guy. His foot was deformed, you know, completely deformed. So that's why he didn't have any shoes on. That's why he was walking so slow. And all of a sudden, he looks over at me. Usually when you're driving, you're looking straight. Well, he looks at me like this, and I see he doesn't have an eyeball. And I'm just freaking out. My whole body inside is just like compassion for this guy. So I only had $17 left on me, and I go, I remember in the Bible it says when you bless somebody, you're giving them your blessing, you're blessing them. And I figured, you know what? I don't have that much blessing, but the blessing I have, I want to give it all to him. So I took the money out of my pocket, and I went to bless him. I went to grab my arm to put it on his arm to bless him, and he blocked it. He blocked me. He put his arm on me, and he says, "In the name of Jesus, bless you." So I gave him my $17. I said, "Here, take this." And he goes, "No, just give me 20 cents for a phone call." It's when the money changed from 1 dime to 2 dimes for a phone call. There was no cell phones yet. And I gave him that money, and I pulled over on a street to drop him off where he wanted to be dropped off at. And I went to make a U-turn, and it was a big, wide street, so you can make an easy U-turn. I went to look at him, and he was completely gone. He couldn't have gone anywhere. There's nowhere he could have gone. He was gone. So that week, I had a little gold wire silver thing somebody told me that this church was having it in their lot, this dirt lot. So I went there to do the gold wire, and a lady came up to me from Humphrey Incorporated, Mary Duenes. I'll never forget her. Mary Duenes says, "Hey, we're having an arts and crafts thing at my company. Do you want to come? It's going to cost you $40. I go, "Yeah, I'll come." So I gave her the $40, and I went to the Humphrey Incorporated in San Diego, and it just so happened she was right in the middle of every corporation. Food Maker, which is Jack in the Box, Cubic Corporation, all the main corporations were there, AT&T, Pac Bell, all the hospitals. So I went there to her company, and my life changed. I was a millionaire within 12 months. I was 24 when that happened, and 25, I was a millionaire. I was invited to every corporation. I went to get a jewelry on memo from guys downtown San Diego. Memo means consignment. Because I knew them, they gave it to me, and I sold out every time. And here it would take me a month to make 2,000. I made that in 2 hours. And I had every company. I had every hospital. I had all the VA hospitals. I mean, I opened up 4 stores, and the rest is history. That's how God works. God showed up. I just lived in the right life, and my life has never been the same ever since. Bottom line. It's real.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's real. I mean, I don't know if people believe it or not, but it happened to me, and I'm here to tell you. I went from being loser to winner overnight.
So just tell us a little bit more so we can understand. So you went to a conference that had all of the companies there,
Well,
and then you were able to sell your product to all of these people? Like, is that what
so
happened at the conference?
yeah, it was the craziest thing. It was the craziest thing. So she invited me to her company. She was doing an arts and crafts fair, but it just so happens she was one of the board members of a company called SDIRC, which stands for San Diego Industrial Council. which happened to be every major company in San Diego, would belong to this club that met once a month. They belonged to this club, and it was for the employees. So the employees, they wanted to make sure the employees were happy. So you have to keep the employees happy. So you had travel was there, gift cards were there, theaters were there. You want to make sure you got all the employees the passes, because of course every company would benefit, right? They would benefit. Like if you owned a restaurant and you wanted to invite people to all these companies to the restaurant, you would say, for employees only, here's a discount card, come to our restaurant. Well, guess what? Pretty soon you get, here's a secret. If there's 10,000 people working in a company, even 1,000, even 400, even 100 people working in that company, if you get one of those employees to buy from you, what happens? If you take care of that employee really well, that employee is going to do what? Oh my gosh, you got to go to this restaurant. They're the best. They'll take care of you. Their service is amazing. Their price, you're crazy. You got to go. Well, hello. They're all going. They're all going to go because they trust that employee. They trust that company. It's important to understand that if you are serving a company and that company says, I recommend you do business with Hallmann Jewelers, what do you think they're going to do? They trust that company. Otherwise, they wouldn't be working for that company. Plain and simple. So it was a no-brainer. Within 1 year, I went from being nobody to somebody really big. Big. I can't even tell you what happened. I had 30 employees after that first year. 30 employees.
Wow.
I didn't know business at all. I just know that God orchestrated this entire thing, the whole thing. And it happened within a week after I gave that guy that money. And you know why? Because my heart went from being me and it went for being others. Bottom line, in the Bible, it says, when you give somebody your blessing, you're blessing them. Well, that guy he blocked my arm. I went like this, and he blocked me. And he went like this. And that's when he blessed me. In my life, had never been the same ever since. And he was gone. I made a U-turn, quick U-turn. I know how slow that guy walks. Disappeared. There's nowhere he could have gone. Nowhere. Gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't explain it. I'm not going to freak people out. I just know what happened to me.
Right.
I don't have to tell you. That's real. My life has never been the same. Never been the same. I mean, I have 7 grandkids. My grandson just graduated with honors at one of the top colleges in America, private colleges. And let me tell you something. He's 6'3". My grandson. I mean, look how young I look. The guy's 27 years old. You know what I'm saying? It's God. And I have no other way to explain it. I can't even tell you, besides the jewelry business, what he's done for me. I can't even tell you. The real estate holdings. I mean, it's him. He's opened up doors for me like you wouldn't believe. And none of it came from the jewelry business. The real estate did not come from the jewelry business. It was him.
Mm.
Totally him.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about some of those doors he opened. So this first conference you went to is where it all started, right? Where all your success started. You said it was very word of mouth at that point. You serviced one person real great, and then they passed it on, and all of a sudden now you're servicing thousands of employees at these companies.
Oh, crazy.
How did you make that impression? Obviously the door was opened by this invite, but what did you do to make that impression and have people start spreading your name around?
Well, so first of all, it's really important. You're talking about a guy that grew up very messed up. I mean, clearly messed up. And very dishonest, had to live a life of lying, stealing, And so I knew that I wanted to change my life at 19 years old. When I went to that Bible study, I knew I wanted to change. I felt it. I felt I wanted to be a better person. I wanted to live a righteous life, but you can't just go from bad to good overnight. It just doesn't happen. It takes time. It takes work. You have to want to work on yourself to become the best you can be. You have to, unless you don't want to work on yourself, it's not going to become better. And it's who you associate with. I got in so much trouble with the people I was hanging out with that I told myself the only people I want to hang out with now are people better than me. I want to hang out with better people than me. And the reason why is because I'm going to become better. So I found the CEOs of companies. I found people that were loaded with money, and I just became their friends. I did everything I could to be their friends, everything. And because I was so young in business, people want to help people. They just want to help. So I just knew that I had to get myself a good personality. I had to learn how to be polite. I had to learn how to be who I wasn't. So I started opening doors for people. I started helping people. I started doing things. If I saw a poor person, I could tell if a poor person's really poor. You can tell because they don't have a cell phone. They don't have brand new tennis shoes on that are asking for money. They look poor, So you do everything you can to help people, and that's what I did. And in my life, just within, let's see, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, that's 5 years. I had to suffer for 5 years, you know, but you know what? God showed up 100%. I mean, I can't even tell you what it was like to make that kind of money, overnight. I mean, there was one hospital that we did in San Diego, and I was giving money to the employees' recreation fund. So that's another way that I got in. I would give donations to the employee recreation funds. One day, and for the day at the hospital, this one small hospital, I cut a check to them for $9,000. It was almost $10,000. That was their share for that day. That was their share for that day.
Wow.
That's like a whole year's income for me in the past 1 year, almost 1 year. I did that in one day. That's how God showed up.
Yeah.
Come on. I'm a nobody. I'm just a nobody. And I knew that.
Yeah.
So look, I don't know your believers. I don't know who your audience is, but you know what? It's just real. It's just real.
We definitely completely agree.
Yeah.
I don't know who's listening, like you said, but
Yeah.
we're on the same page.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, yeah. So good. So
yeah.
so he just, you want to hear another amazing story? Amazing story?
Absolutely.
Now I can't give you the full details at the end because it's not my way to say that, but you guys just have to put the pieces together, which I'm sure you will. So I was serving as the chaplain, as volunteer chaplain for one of the hospitals for 7 years. I was also, before that, I was serving as a probation officer, volunteer probation officer for juvenile hall for kids for 7 years. So I got burnt out there because, of course, it's hard to deal with kids for 7 years that are really, really messed up, So I'm making my rounds this one Monday at the hospital, and I meet this lady with her mom, and I go, how you doing, ladies? What's going on? So she goes, oh, my mom's about to get out, and well, let me back up a little bit. So my aunt calls me up in Michigan, and she says, Jeff, I want you to read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. I go, okay. I'll read it. So every month she would call up, did you read the book? I go, oh, yeah, I ordered it. It's coming in. I was lying to her. I didn't want, I'm not a reader. I didn't read the book, So, so I get a customer that came in, and she's 26 years old. She's blonde. I'll never forget it. And she just looked like she was maybe 18 years old. And I said, so Susie, how you doing? She goes, I'm doing great. I go, what are you doing so great for? And she goes, I'm an escrow buying my first 26 unit apartment complex. I went, what? Oh, the heck. Now, mind you, I'm in a jewelry business going, and I'm every day working my buns off. I go, how'd you do that? She goes, I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. I went, what? That night, I went to the bookstore. That night, this fast, I read that book that whole night going, dang, wow. Right? So I own a home in San Diego. So, and we own it, meaning the bank owns it. I just pay my payments, right? So I go to the hospital, and I meet this lady, and she's with her mom, and she's about 73, and her mom is maybe 95. And she says, Chaplain, I need your help. I go, what's that? Now, mind you, why would this lady tell me this? You and I both know why it happens. This lady told me this one thing. She goes, Chaplain, she goes, my husband died a couple years ago, and I want to be with my mom. She goes, and I have an old home. I just want to get out of it. And I go, well, how much do you want for it? She goes, well, I go, well, how much do you want it? She goes, 70,000. I go, okay, you owe 70,000. Mind you, San Diego. Now, mind you, this is in the ghetto of San Diego. Not a ghetto anymore, but it was a ghetto back then. So I said, okay, so what do you want for it? She goes, well, I'd like to make 20,000 profit. I said, okay, I'll buy it from you. She goes, you buy it for me? And mind you, I just got done reading that book. Just got done reading the book. So I didn't care what it was going to take. I went and borrowed the money on my home. I told my dad, I go, Dad, this is what I want to buy. So my dad helped me do the paperwork on it. I bought the house for $90,000 cash because it's in my on my loan on my home now. So so I went and I got the house, and it was renting for like $600 a month for Section 8, which is a government help facility to help renters. And so craziest thing happened is that I went to go see my son's pick him up from his friend's house, and his dad happens to be an architect. And I go, Mark, I heard you went to Texas. He goes, I did. And I go, what's there? And he goes, well, in San Antonio, that's where it's happened, a place called San Antonio. Now, mind you, he's an architect, so I trust him. I'm not that smart. So I'm just like, I just got through reading that book. I just bought this rental house, so I know. So I said, so what did you buy? And he goes, well, we bought 2 new houses that we're going to rent. I go, oh. And he had a brochure sitting there, one of those little flyers. And it had a bunch of real estate pictures on it of houses. I says, can I have that? He goes, sure. So I went home, and I called that real estate agent, and I says, I'll take all 4 of those houses that are on that picture. Not even a discount. I didn't even know to ask for discounts. I just paid full price. Just dumb, just dumb. So I went and borrowed the money on that $90,000 house I just bought, because that house was worth $100 and some odd thousand, by the way. So I bought that. I bought those 4 properties in Texas. And that was 20 years ago. So you can imagine what's been going on since then.
Today's episode is brought to you by Mecca, the meal prep and supplement company that's changing the game when it comes to fueling your body for success. With Mecca, you can enjoy delicious, chef-prepared meals delivered right to your doorstep. These meals are not only mouth-watering, but also perfectly macro-balanced and packed with protein to support your fitness and health goals. Sam and I have both eaten a bunch of these meals, and man, do we have to admit, we didn't realize eating clean could taste so good. Be sure not to skip out on Mecca's line of supplements to aid you in your recovery. I make sure to take their BCAAs every time I compete in jiu-jitsu. To place your first order, be sure to head to mecca.fitness. That's MEKA.fitness and use code YPR10 to save 10% off this order and all future orders.
So when you borrowed against your houses, did you do like a cash out refi to then get the cash to buy the other houses, or
So I'm gonna tell you a big secret. I'm gonna tell you a really, 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 really big secret that you're not going to hear from too many people, and you're going to learn this for your viewers. And I'm going to shock you right now. I'm going to shock you as I'm sitting here. So you, first of all, you definitely want to buy properties that are on the outskirts of an area that's growing. Remember that. So let's say I'm going to buy in Utah, in Salt Lake City, or in that area, and I'm going to buy on the outskirts of what's growing. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and only buy during Christmas time. And the reason why I'm only going to buy during Christmas time is very easily, everybody wants a New Year's resolution. So come Thanksgiving, I'm going to go ahead and have my real estate agent give 50 offers on 50 homes. Low offers. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to borrow that money against my property. I'm never going to use my cash out of my pocket, ever. I'm going to borrow against one of my rentals. Now, you ready for this? Here's the secret. As long as you tell your lender that it's a rental home, you're going to get a loan within 2 seconds, even if your FICO score is bad. And the reason why is because that home is bringing in what's called revenue, income. And as long as the revenue is greater than the payments, you're a hero. And now you can do that all day long, as many as you want. Remember, as many as you want. That means the house you just bought, you can wait a year or 2 years, and you can go ahead and borrow on that home and do the same thing on other properties, and you just keep going. Then you go as fast as you want, as many as you want to own. It's as simple as that. It's not that difficult.
Wow. So that's what you've done, and you've been doing this for
20 years.
30, 40 years. Wow.
20 years. No, this part of it I've been doing for 20 years, so I can't even tell you. I'm not even going to go there. I'm just telling you God has blessed me.
Yeah.
much more than I've ever dreamed of blessing. Much more.
What a
It's
great
just,
piece of advice.
yeah, that's a big secret.
Yeah. So
Big
do you
secret.
mind? Do you mind if I kind of summarize everything you've said so far about the doors that have been opened? And so we started. It kind of seems like everything picked up for you um, at that first Bible study, right? Where you go and you knew you wanted to make a change. Something happened, a door was opened, and you started doing everything you could to make a change. Whether that was as simple as opening doors for people or just doing everything you could to be a better person, which I actually really love. I have a good friend who always says, just do the right thing no matter what, and it'll come back to you. It will
100%.
come back to you.
Just be right just do the right thing all the time. Not 99.9% of the time, all the time.
Yeah. And then from there, you have this experience where you pick this man up off the streets. You go to bless him. He doesn't let you. He blesses you. And all of a sudden, you're invited to this conference where your business just explodes, and you're able to now surround yourself with amazing people, CEOs who are directly able to mentor you and make an impact and introduce you to other customers. And then while you're having success in this area, you meet someone who says, I'm closing on this apartment, this 26 unit apartment building. And I did it because I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And so you immediately go out, read the book, and start acting on it. And so I would completely agree with you. It sounds like plenty of doors were opened in your life. I would attribute it to God just like you do.
Yeah.
But whatever our audience attributes it to,
that's right.
Doors were open and you acted on that. You did everything within your power to then find a way to create the most of every single opportunity.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. You just have to, you know what? Here's the thing. Most people don't realize that first of all, you have to really visualize who you are, who you want to be. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say this, I know people don't like to hear it at all. You have to fake it till you make it. So I wanted to be a millionaire. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be a very honorable person. I wanted people to look up to me as I could be a mentor, you know. And as you know, I started a homeless nonprofit to help homeless teens. There's 1.5 million homeless teens in America. So I started a nonprofit for that. So, you know, you have to give back. You have to do everything you can, what's right. And you can't hold on to your money because it's not your money to begin with. When you die, what do you have? You have nothing. So the bottom line is that it's not your money anyways. So if you treat it like it's not your money, that just you work for God, let's say, you want to do the right thing. You just want to do the right thing. You know, I'm like, I can have boxes in my hand. I'll walk out a door and I need help with the door. And I'll have a couple girls behind me. I'll open the door. They'll walk before me to that door while I have the boxes. They're not going to open the boxes for me. If you had those boxes in your hand, I guarantee you I would help you with those boxes. I guarantee you I'd open up your car door for you too. You know, it doesn't matter how busy you are, because that's when you're tested, is when you're really, really busy. God steps up and says, here's a person who needs help right now. Are you too busy? No. I don't care if you're in a meeting and you see something going on. Excuse me, hold on just a second. And you go help that person. You come back to that meeting. You know, you just have to do the right thing. And so you have to fake it till you make it. For me, I wanted to become successful. I wanted to look the right way. I looked at how people were. I remember as a kid selling meat door to door, you know, years ago. And I would go into these homes, these spectacular homes in Irvine Ranch area. And I go, I want to be that way. I want to be the guy driving that Jaguar, not eating my sandwich on the way to work. You know, I want to be that guy, not eating in my car because I got to eat in my car. Mm-hmm. And since then, I own 10 Jaguars. You know, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You know, it's just, you know, I don't own one anymore because, you know, I don't like them anymore. But, you know, but it's just what it is. You know, I mean, God just, you do the right thing. I promise you, if you do the right thing and you think of who you want to be, make a note of who you want to be. You will be that person. I promise you, you will be that person 100%. You will be that person. You know, you just have to say, that's who I want to be. And you have to visualize yourself there. You have to act like you're there. You have to act like that person right now. And I promise you, you're that person.
So at what point did you begin visualizing who you wanted to be, and what inspired you with that?
because I was so messed up, Sam, I was so messed up as a kid. I daydreamed all the time in school. I daydreamed about everything because I was so bored. I was so bored, you know. Um, I was looking at the clock, and I remember the clock just going so slow at school, going, "Oh, is this day ever going to get done? Oh my gosh, you know." But I would daydream all day long, and I would daydream being a superhero like every other kid. I would daydream being a cop, saving the world, you know. And I would just daydream, and I would just imagine myself being a certain person, you know. And I was everything I've ever daydreamed, everything you can imagine, everything I thought of. God blessed me with everything, everything. I can't even tell you what my life was like for these past 40 years, you know. And yeah, I'm not saying it's been perfect because it hasn't been. I've had problems. My first wife divorced me, you know, and I lost everything again back then and when I was 30 years old. But you know what? You focus and God gives you everything back. It's just the way God is, you know. It's real. This is real. This isn't, you're talking to a guy that just walked my shoes. You can see it. It's just crazy, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I've interviewed so many CEOs. What made them successful? I love talking to them. People love talking to them about themselves.
Nah.
People love it. So I would come up to a CEO and say, "Sir, you know, I was just this cute little kid, right? So people talk to me, sir. Can I ask you a question? Can I just take 5 minutes of your time? I just want to know for myself because I want to be successful one day. Can you just give me a little bit of advice on what you would do to make that happen?" Yeah, you know, they have no problem talking about themselves. And then you keep feeding them. You keep feeding them information. Like they come up and say, "Well, I would recommend you do this." "Well, sir, when you did that, what did that do for you?" "It made me this, and this, and this." "Well, how did you become a CEO?" "This, I worked hard, blah, 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 blah." "Well, how did you do that?" And they love it. They
Mhm.
love it. The moment you get in that conversation with this person, they love it. You know, and I got a lot of great people from church. I went to one of the top churches that people, you know, they just made a lot of money there. You know, it's like a great place to start for me, you know, because I was just a kid with nothing, you know.
No.
So
What's some of the best advice you got from some of those CEOs you talked to?
just do the right things. You have to put other people first. You have to serve people, even the people that work for you. You have to serve them. And you think, well, how do I serve this person if I'm a manager? Are you kidding me? You have to learn how to be a servant. You have to. You have to learn. If I have employees working for me, which I do, hey, if they're sick, I'm going to make sure I deliver soup to their home, flowers. I don't care. I'm going to do the right thing. I don't care what it costs me because you know it's going to come back 100-fold. You know, you have to do the right thing. You have to do not what you would want. You just have to do the right thing. I don't know what to tell you. You just have to be honest. And honesty is hard. It's hard to be honest. I mean, I my jewelers, my guys working for me had messed up on rings so many times, and it's hard not to lie and say this is what happened when it really didn't happen. It's like, hey, you know, you have to be honest. It's hard, but that honesty really pays off. And you have to, you know, people need help. You have to look all the time and look for people that need. You just have to keep your eyes open to see who needs help. Keep your eyes open. You'll see them. You'll see them everywhere. And just help them. It's not that difficult. You know, and I'm really good at making soup. Believe me, I'm really good at making the soup. I tell you right now that when somebody's sick, I'll bring over some soup and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's the best soup around. Wow." It's like, it is. You know?
So, if I can kind of condense what we just talked about, you're saying that we need to make sure that we're going the extra mile, we're doing good, and then we're also trusting in God.
Yes.
Those are three factors that enabled you to have
Factors.
success.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. Yes.
cool.
Yep.
So then that just makes me wonder, if you could go back and start over your professional journey, is there anything that you would do differently in the beginning besides maybe reading Rich Dad Poor Dad sooner?
Oh my gosh. I'm telling you right now. Let me tell you what I know right now. Oh my goodness gracious. I would buy realistically, I would work really, really hard when I was young. Um, really hard while going to school. I would save
Can you
all my
define
money.
that by like
I
what
wouldn't
what does it
date.
mean to work really hard?
So I would do well. First of all, I did landscaping as a kid, so I mowed lawns and I washed cars. You know, I would do more of that. I would save up and buy my first piece of property, 100%. I would have to buy it in my dad's name and my mom's name, but I would have done that. I would have bought my first piece of property, and I would have bought. It's back that I wouldn't do it now because things have changed a lot. I would have bought all the Rolexes I could have bought, and I would have bought all the big diamonds, 4 carat diamonds and larger. And I would have those. They have gone up so much. So Rolexes had gone up so much. It's not now. It's over. I mean, the ride is over for Rolexes. But a couple years ago, Rolex came up and said, "Hey, 2018, we're going to go ahead and take some of the sports watches. This is known as a sports watch. We're going to take the sports watch off the market, and we're going to go ahead and they did it in October, and the market went crazy at Christmas time. Nobody could find the brand new sports watches. So it made all the used watches go up 30%. Well, Rolex had tripled in value. Well, now they're evened out, so it's over. And the 4 carat diamonds, big stuff is over. That ride's over. So I would have bought those 3 things. I would have bought the hottest cars in the market, the hottest cars. So let's say a Mustang 2004, a collector's item, would have been a hot year. I would have bought that brand new car, and I would have driven it for 60,000 miles. And at that point, I would have stored that car and bought another brand new hot car. And I would have drove that for 60,000 miles. I would have stored that and bought the next hot car. And I know everybody that's listening to this understands why I would do that. Because number one, it's original. Number two, it only has 60,000 miles on it. And number 3, it was the hottest year at that time. So it's gonna bring in a huge amount of money. So I just sold my Ferrari not too long ago. I had a really cool 2000 Spider Ferrari, which is the yellow one, really nice Ferrari. But if I had the choice, I would have bought the Dino. My uncle had the Dino. He paid $35,000 for a Dino, and that car, rest his soul, he sold it before he passed away. That car today is worth $750,000 to $1 million. So, in other words, everything I do, I would do, and don't think I'm cheap because I'm not. Definitely not. I mean, I go out for dinner a lot. I do a lot of things.
You just talked about selling Ferraris. I don't think you're cheap.
Well, no. So I'm saying what I would do is I would definitely think of investments on everything you do. How can I make this work for me as revenue? And so because I'm doing so much in real estate right now, I decided a couple of years ago that I'm not going to buy any more cars. I just kept my little Lexus 200H Lexus. Now, by the way, I'm going to ask this question. I've got a 645 Beamer in my garage. If somebody has a nonprofit, I will donate that Beamer to somebody to be able to utilize that BMW, but I want to use it as a write-off. You understand? So I don't drive this car because I don't want people to think that I'm rich. You understand that? So it's convertible and it just sits there like a brand new car. Just sits there. So now I don't want to sell it. I want to donate it. You see how that works? To a nonprofit. Yeah. So a school, whatever. I just want it to go away, and I'm just going to keep my little Lexus 200H. Little Lexus. So nobody has to see me. I don't want them to see me. Does that make sense at this point? Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't want them to say, "Oh, look at him." No, I don't want that. Don't look at me. Look up. Don't look at me.
Yeah.
Because pride before the fall. I've had that happen. I do not want pride before the fall.
Well, if donating that car is something you're really looking at doing, I know, I don't know if this man has his own nonprofit, but I know he works closely with some. I believe his name is Supercar Ron.
Yeah.
On Instagram. Yeah. Okay. I'll reach out and let him know that you're looking to donate this and see if he has anywhere he knows it can go.
Yeah, and I'll ship it. I'll ship it to him. I'll ship him the car if it's real. I mean, I'm okay with that. I just don't want. I don't want things to point to me anymore. I'm at that point in my life to where I'd rather people point at you, and I'd rather point to you to help you out. Because you know what, I'm an old guy now. I just want other people to benefit. I mean, I've made so many people millionaires. This one girl, it was so funny. She was a customer of mine. She was 19 years old. She came up and she said, "Jeff, my mom says that you can help me." And I go, "Do what?" She goes, "Well, I go, "Lisa, what do you want to get done?" She goes, "I want to get a computer chip company off the ground." I go, "Lisa, I don't have time. I go, if you got 10 grand, I'll take 10 grand. I'll show you how to get it off the ground. She goes, okay. So a year went by and she goes, Jeff, I need you to help me get my computer company off the ground. I go, Lisa, I don't have time for this. I'm so busy running the stores and everything. She goes, Jeff, please, I know you can do it. I go, Lisa, I don't have time. Excuse me. Well, 1991, Lisa comes up to me. She says, Jeff, please. I go, Lisa, how much money do you have? She goes, I got $200. I go, you have to listen to me. You can't deviate from me at all. You can't deviate. I go, you have to literally listen to me. Don't argue with me. You have to listen to everything I say. I'm going to give you a corner of my office. You're going to buy a fax machine. You're going to get a business license. We get you a fictitious filing statement to make it legal. Get you a checking account for $100. Get you business cards. And let's go. The $200 we got invested, 1991. She sells 1x9 Sims, which is a computer chip years ago, little computer chip years ago. I said, okay, what do you want to do your first month in sales? So she got those on the arm. She didn't have to pay for them. She had 30 days to pay for them because, most places you can take time to pay for business, as long as you have good credit, you can do things like that. So she said, I want to do 5,000. So the first month we did 10,000. Are you guys sitting down? The second month we did 125,000. She sold the business 5 years later for $25 million. True story. That's just one of so many people I've helped in business. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. What a joy. What a joy to be able to see people succeed. But the key is they have to remember how it came to them. They can't get cocky. Because once you get cocky, it goes away. And guess what? She got cocky and it all, not good stuff happened to her. Pride cannot be in your life. You have to be humble.
What did it take to do that for her?
So she got the computer chips on the arm. She had a fax machine because faxes were big back then. I says, here's what I want you to do. I want you to call all the places that you can sell this computer chip to. You fax me your price sheet. And I says, and you do this all day long. I go, I don't care how many phone calls you can make. You can make 200 phone calls a day. You fax, you call, 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 you fax. She lit it up. She lit up the world, man. The packages that were coming in for these things were just in the groves. Crazy. Her biggest account was the military. She got the military on these computer chips. Oh my gosh. She was making so much money with that military. It was crazy. It was crazy. That's just one. I made so many people money. My jewelers, for example, he was just a guy living out of the hole out of the room with his mom in Tijuana in San Diego with his kids in one room because they didn't have any money. I showed him the real estate business. And during that big 2009 thing going on, he was able to buy a lot. It's called a parcel from Bank of America. So they have a parcel of homes that were going through foreclosure, and he bought them. He was able to come up with enough money to buy that parcel of 20 homes in San Diego in 2009. And he went and fixed every one of those homes up day and night. And I think he's probably getting $4 to $5 grand every month for those homes. You do the math per month.
Wow.
Do the math.
Yeah.
Per house, 20 homes.
Right.
Every month. This poor guy that was living out of a home. You should see his house now. Wow. 6,000 square foot home, guest house. He's got his Ferrari, brand new custom Ferrari. You know what he did? He has like a courtyard. So in the middle of his home, you see this beautiful courtyard, right? Well, he has two garages connected to this courtyard. One garage is all wall, right? So he takes this whole wall out in this courtyard and he makes it all glass. This entire side of the garage is all glass now, and you can see it from every room in the house, from the kitchen, the living room. And in that glass garage is his custom made red Ferrari. And he looks at it all day long. He's just looking at his car from every room in the house, dude.
Yeah. So if we could take one big takeaway from this conversation, it sounds like to me it would be every time God opens a door for you, you need to just work your tail off to do the right thing and do everything you can for others.
You have to just have to live right. You have to be honest. You have to live right. You have to do the right thing. You have to serve others. You have to remember, a leader is not served. The reason why that leader is a good leader is because he serves. He serves his employees. He serves everybody around him. Everybody around him. You'll notice that when you go to a CEO's home, which I've been to several of his homes, they serve you. They serve you. And you will know why he's a leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't sit there and go, I want to be served because I've got $100 million in the bank. No way, man.
Yeah.
This guy, you go to his home, he's just like, can I get you some coffee? What can I get you? It's just what it is.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Just make sure you're serving people.
Yeah, it's great.
And Jeff, now that you've made your success and it's been a marvelous life for you, and you've told us all these incredible stories about how you were able to make yours and then help others make theirs, what are your aspirations now? What are you reaching towards?
So I started that nonprofit, ap2020.org. It's really for teens. So my next step is I've got it pretty good here in San Diego and California. I want to go ahead and take it national. There's 1.5 million homeless teens, and let's define homeless teens. So the government defines them by saying they don't have a bed to call their own. They couch hop from house to house. They live in a hotel with their parents, or they live in a car by themselves with their parents. That's a homeless teen. So now that you've defined that, now in San Diego, we have a huge amount of homeless people. And you know why? Because the weather here is really conducive to be homeless. So we know that if they stay homeless, we're going to have more homeless people on those streets. Well, we don't want those teens to be homeless. We want these teens to have a life, to hit their goals, their dreams, their desires. And we want them to get jobs while they're going to school. We don't want things to be handed to them, and we want to show them that you don't want things to be handed to you. You have to work through it. And believe it or not, most of these teens are willing to. If you look at that video on my website, ap2020.org, for that Adolescence Project 2020, those two girls that are being interviewed, you'll see the back. You can't see the face of the homeless teens for obvious reasons. But the bottom line is that those girls are homeless. They're junior hires, middle school. Hello, homeless. That's real in America. We have to change that, and we can change it. And the teens want to work through it. The teachers come up to me and say, "We have kids. We get to school early to go to work. These kids are washing their hair in the teachers' bathrooms. The guys are shaving in the men's bathrooms. What do you want to know? In the teachers' bathrooms and lounges. They want to make it. They live in the park. They live wherever. But you can't. Other kids can't know they're homeless for obvious reasons. They'll tease them." So, you guys really need to understand America is changing, and we have to help America. We have the resources to do that. I don't care if you only have $20 to your name. You got to do it.
That sounds like an incredible mission. So,
Yeah.
and it's very noble. So I'm glad that I think that you're going to really be able to help a lot of people. And so thank you for that maxim to remind us to also, even if we feel like we don't have a lot, there's always something that we can give and help other people in need. So,
well, I appreciate both of you for allowing me to be on your show. You're doing a great thing. You're referred to me by a really good friend of mine, a business associate, and he spoke very highly of both of you. And I just wanted to say, keep up the good work. You're helping a lot of people. And I pray for both of you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. If we could just ask one final question before we let you go. If at the end of your career or your life, there was a press release, what would that say about you? What would you want it to say to show where you feel you've had the most success and the most important success to you?
I just you mean in business or in life? Because it's really not about. So first of all,
however you want to take it. The
hardest thing for me to remember to think about is money, because money makes everything work. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, if you work for money, it's the wrong way to go. You have to work for a goal. You can't work for money. Money can't be the goal, the driven factor. And I learned that. It was a very hard lesson to learn. Mm-hmm. I really would say that everything will come to you if you do the right thing. If you really want to help people, and if you really want to make a lot of money and be very successful, help others and be honest. Just be honest and live a right life. I'm just telling you right now that everything will come to you. But if I'm a businessman and I'm being dishonest and I'm working dishonestly, I'm going to work really hard and hit my head against the wall all the time, to where if I just live the right life, that wall is going to have a door open for me. So I don't have to go through that wall the same way everybody else has to go through that wall. And I'm telling you from experience, honestly, I've probably started 20 or 30 businesses in my lifetime. And most of them failed because I was there for the wrong reason. You need to know that.
Yeah.
They fail.
So the headline of your press release would read something along the lines of, he did everything he could to do the right thing and help others.
Bottom line. It's 100% about God 100% of the time, period.
I love it.
And until you understand that, I can't even tell you. I've had so many miracles happen in my life since, and that wasn't the only miracle. I've had hundreds of them since then, and I can't even explain it. I don't even want to have to go over it. People just have to live it on their own and see for their own life. It's, at the end of the day, Joe Smith over here, he's not going to die with me. When I die, I'm going by myself. You see the point? So I really, really, really have to realize that, what did I do in my lifetime?
Yeah.
I don't have to care about why is he making it and why I'm not making it. It doesn't matter. What matters is do the right thing. Thanks, guys.
Yes, thank you. So I would imagine the most important place we could send people based off this conversation today is probably ap2020.org. Is that correct?
Please.
Okay.
These kids need a lot of help. All
right. You heard Jeff, ap2020.org. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you both.
Yep.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay. Thank you. Stay blessed.